All right, greetings everybody. Welcome to our session today on the Dragon Network. My name is Erin Glaser and I am the Senior Co-op Advisor at Drexel University. I have joining me today Lauren and Lauren, both from the Alumni Engagement Office, and they are going to help us understand a little bit more about the Dragon Network, which can help you with building your Drexel alumni connections, and also you will need to know how to use it in order to complete the assignments located in Blackboard. So for the purposes of today, we are recording, so know that if you don't want to be heard, then you always have the option of posting questions in the chat or the Q&A function, or if you want to stop us and unmute yourself, you're also welcome to do that and ask questions as we go through. I will be moderating the chat and the Q&A, and Lauren will be the main people talking and sharing information today. So without further ado, I will turn it over to them and look forward to hearing their presentation. Thank you.
Well, I'll go ahead and kick us off. It's great to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Villenueva from the Alumni Office at Drexel. I am also a two-time Drexel alum. I graduated 2004 and 2009 and have been working in the Alumni Office for the last 13 years. So it's great to be here sharing a little bit about our newest resource for the alumni and student community, which is Dragon Network. My partner in all of this is Lauren Karsh. So I'll let her say a few words about herself and her role.
Hi everyone, I'm also Lauren Karsh. I've been at Drexel, working for Drexel for about 8 years, and I manage all of our career and professional development programming for the office under Lauren V's leadership. So we're excited to share with you, best practices for using this platform.
Great. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to take you through a quick demo of how the platform works. I think when you have a moment, if you have not done so already, if you create your own profile and start to, poke around a bit into the community, you'll get a real good sense of some of the key features of it. But we're going to go through and do a quick demo of what you will see when you log in. So this is the landing page. You would go to Dragon Network with 2 N's, .drexel.edu, and you'll see sort of the login page to join the community. So there's also a couple of tabs up at the top that you can take a look through that's just going to tell you a little bit about some of what the platform can offer you, some of the benefits of it, what's going to happen after you sign up. And then, of course, it will take you through the process of actually joining the community. So for students, you can actually log in with your Drexel credentials. I won't be able to do it this way because I already have my profile set up, but you can log in using your email address and password. And then that will populate some information in your profile already, mostly just your major, your hometown. You'll be able to, once you create sort of your preliminary account, if you have a LinkedIn profile, actually import all of your information from LinkedIn as a second step. So you won't need to build your profile from scratch. You can actually take what you have in LinkedIn as far as your summary statement, your educational experience, any professional experience that you have, and it will help you build your profile. So it's really a quick 3-step process once you log in with your Drexel credentials to kind of get to that part. But what I'll do is log in using LinkedIn, which is how I set up my account since I am an alum. Alums can log in right away with LinkedIn because they don't have their Drexel credentials. But again, this is just a way for you to sort of create your profile a little bit more quickly. So I'm logged in as a student. So for students, this is what the community landing page is going to look like for you. So once you really start using the network a little bit more, it'll look much more robust. I don't usually log in as a student, so it doesn't have a whole lot of information here for me, but you can consider this sort of like your dashboard. At the top, it's going to show you sort of who your best connection would be. So when you go through the login process, in addition to importing your LinkedIn information, you're going to fill out an interest form that's going to ask you industries that you're interested in, what you're seeking help with. And then based on that, it's going to match you with alumni that have that particular expertise. So we can see Mary's profile here. She has noted that she can help with or has an area of expertise in 3 things you see here. So work-life balance, volunteering, resume, and cover letter review. There are many other things that alums can select with, from salary negotiation to interview techniques to living and working abroad. So when you fill out your interest profile, you'll be able to select what you would want to get out of the community and also the industries that you're going to be most interested in. So it'll show you kind of your top connection. It will show you some people that are maybe, not the top connections, but a little bit more similar to what your interest might be. And then at the bottom, it's going to just show you some recent posts from our groups and also resources. So we're going to go through the whole platform so you'll see what all of that's going to look like. But I know for your class, one of the things that you'll be doing is conducting informational interviews. And so when you create your profile in Dragon Network, you'll be able to connect with alumni who are willing to talk and be a resource to current students and to other alumni through this mentors tab at the top. And we'll go through and show you what it will look like when you actually want to make that outreach. It's running a little slow, of course, while I'm trying to show you all this. So if you just bear with us, we're going to go ahead and just pick a profile to take a look at. So it'll show you here, people who can help you with interview practice, let's say. So this might be really valuable for you to search on when you're looking for your informational interviews. I'm going to look at Lauren's profile because I know that she set up everything correctly and has pulled her LinkedIn through, and you'll get to see some of the features of it. So if we click on Lauren's profile, we'll see, the things that we have in common, industries of interest mostly. We'll see Lauren's professional experience. We will see her educational background, and then we're going to see the topics that she's able to help with, the industries that she's interested in, a little bit about her in terms of what some of her hobbies are, and also the groups that she belongs to. So this will give you kind of a really good sense of, where has this person been in terms of their career? Have they worked for particular companies maybe that I would have an interest in working for? Maybe, there are other academic institutions in common. So this kind of gives you a good first glance of what you might have in common with the person, what you might use sort of to frame your conversation with them, just to really give a sense of, who they are before you reach out. Also on the side over here, you'll find other members of the network whose profiles are similar. So, if you are interested in higher education or academia, and that's, your reason for contacting Lauren, you can also find a few other individuals that would share that background. So as you build your network or you look to conduct other interviews, it'll give you, these are some profiles that are similar and might meet your needs and interests. So if we want to go ahead and send a message to Lauren, we will go and do that here. So it'll remind you a little bit about some of the key things about her professional experience, so that you can sort of have that in the back of your mind when you make that first outreach. So you can write your own message. So, you're free to sort of craft that on your own, but we've also populated this with a couple of different templates for you so that if you maybe aren't sure, how to make that first outreach or what you might say in that first message, it's going to help you out a little bit with that. So we can click on the one that says co-op advice. It's going to give us a little bit in terms of recommendations for the message. But again, you can tailor this and sort of make it your own. And one of the things that I would say, and I'm sure Erin and others have shared with you, is that, when you approach this sort of networking aspect, is that you want to go into it sort of being curious, asking questions, wanting to gain insight from the person that you're connecting with. So, it might lead to the person opening a door for you at the company that they work with or making introductions to other members of their network. But when you make that first outreach, really from the standpoint of wanting to learn about their professional career, wanting to get insight into a particular industry, is really, what you would want to lead with in this case. And I'll let Lauren and Erin chime in if they have any sort of more of the practical tips around that. But that's always just something that we say to alumni that we work with too. Even if they've been out in their professional career for 10 or 20 years, really approach networking from a place of curiosity, from a place of, wanting to get to know the person and their experience a little bit better. And you just never know, where those conversations can lead. But it's going to, help you a little bit with crafting that message. You can personalize this as much as you want. So you can conduct that outreach, in a text-based way. But I think for the purposes of your informational interviews, what you would consider is actually setting up a meeting with your contacts. And you can schedule these meetings right through the platform. So Lauren has the opportunity to update her calendar with the days and times that she's available for meetings, how many students she's willing to connect with each month. So if I wanted to go ahead and actually schedule a time with Lauren to talk further, I could do that as a video or phone call, 30-minute meeting. We'll select a day and time, and she will get a notification that I want to meet. So I'm going to go ahead and actually request that meeting. And then in Lauren's inbox, it will show that she has a video meeting invitation from me, because I want to learn a little bit more about her experience as I navigate the co-op process. So she'll be able to go in and accept that meeting. And then when it's time to actually conduct the meeting, what we'll do is do that right through the platform. So I can go into my inbox and find all of the meetings that I've scheduled, view and reschedule the meeting if I need to. But when it comes time to actually host the meeting, I can go ahead and start the video call right here, and we can meet right through the platform. So I would recommend for your informational interview process, or really through any of the contacts that you might make through Dragon Network, that you leverage this feature. I mean, you can certainly set up a phone call or a Zoom meeting outside of the platform, but I think with this interface, you're actually able to take notes on all the connections that you make. You know, so if Lauren and I have a conversation and she gives me 5 other contacts that I should reach out to, or she suggests companies that might be hiring, I can make all of these notes right through the platform, and it'll save it for me to refer to later. I can take notes before the meeting and sort of say, what do I want to get out of this conversation? You know, do I want to learn about working at Drexel, or do I want to learn about Lauren went through the Masters of Higher Ed program? So what do I want to get out of that conversation? Because if you only have 30 minutes or so with someone, you want to make sure that you go in, you know, with kind of a little focused agenda for yourself to sort of guide the conversation. So I really recommend scheduling all of your meetings through the platform, conducting the video chats through the platform. And then afterwards, you'll be able to take notes on the outcomes of that conversation, and also give a little bit of feedback about your experience with your mentor. So if you had a great conversation with a mentor and you want to tell us about it, because we get to see the evaluations and the feedback, we would love that, because it will help us to celebrate our alumni who are doing a great job at mentorship, and share kind of what the success stories are looking like. So we like when people conduct their interactions through the platform, because it lets us kind of celebrate our alumni community, learn more about how we can better support you as students, learn more about the resources that you're looking for when you come and engage within the platform, and learn more about how our alumni are acting as resources. So that's what that will look like when you go ahead and send a video call. I'm not actually going to start the call now, because I don't want Lauren to get kicked off of Zoom or anything, but just know that your little inbox tab here is going to catalog for you all the interactions that you have with people, whether it's setting up a meeting, whether it's trading messaging back and forth. So you see this is kind of everyone that I've reached out to throughout the platform over the last couple of months. So I'll pause there if you want to ask any questions about sort of the messaging feature. And then there are a few other things that I wanted to highlight for you all. And I'll let Lauren K also chime in from her standpoints in helping alumni navigate and use this platform as well. Anything, okay?
That was extremely thorough. I would just echo, you know, the more specific you can be in your outreach with what you're looking for, and definitely set those goals so you know you have a couple things in mind that you want to get out of that conversation. I can't stress that enough. I know I've gotten a few messages that were very general, and my response was, you know, essentially, you know, tell me how I can help you. So if you're kind of very broad based, like I want to know more specifically what you would like support with. So and alumni are happy to help, but they just want a little bit more direction when you first reach out to them. So just echoing what LV had already mentioned of, you know, make sure you're specific in how the alums can help you in your initial message or outreach. Mm-hmm.
And I'll show you another way to sort of do some filtering for people. So when you look on your main mentor page, this is going to show you, you know, a broad cross section of people from the community based on specific areas. So whether it's a hobby, whether it's a particular group, you know, whether it's a particular industry. If you're looking for some context to be a little bit more specific, you can actually do quite a bit of filtering down within that main networking tab. So if I just want to see all of the alumni who are in the New York City area, who might work in marketing, or who majored in marketing, I'm sorry. and who work in, let's see if we find anybody in academia and research. We can get really specific with what we're looking for in terms of majors, in terms of industry. So there wasn't an exact match for industry, but it could be, because I made it a little bit too narrow, but if I just put all of our alums who are in New York City and who are, let me just clear that, in academia, it should turn up for me, yep, 22 matches. So this will be a way to filter it down, because we do have at this point about 3,000 users in the community. So we've had a lot of alums kind of jump on board and get involved. But if you want to be a little bit more specific in your outreach, there are several different filters that you can use to sort of make that a little bit more manageable. So I can look for all of the alums who are in academia and research as a specific industry and who can help me with interview practice, and turn up a much more manageable number of people. So you see, the more specific we get, sort of the fewer people that we see. And that's kind of aligned with the point that Lauren K was making, where, when you reach out to an alum, you want to be pretty focused in, or when you reach out to anybody, pretty focused in what it is that you are looking for and how they can help, because you'll get a lot more, I think, out of that interaction if you go in with some clear goals and, really understand what it is that you're looking for, and then try and match up with the people who can really offer that area of expertise or insights. I really like this More Filters tab, because again, it does let you filter down by specific topics of interest. If you want to get a little bit more specific, and maybe you're a student athlete and you want to connect with alums who formerly played basketball or baseball or any of these sorts of things, you can go ahead and do that, because it is just a nice point of commonality when you can have that shared experience of having played a sport or having been part of a student organization or a Greek organization. That can be a real icebreaker sometimes in conversations, to be able to have had that shared experience. So I encourage you to, start a broad search, but then filter down and just see, if you're looking for opportunities in a particular city, who are the alums that are there? If you're looking for opportunities at a particular company, you can search by that to sort of narrow who you will see and who you will be able to connect with. So I do encourage you to check out all these filter options at the top, so that you can get a little bit more specific in your search, and turn up some contacts that are really going to be aligned with what it is that you are looking for in terms of that outreach, and maybe who shared some elements of the Drexel experience that you also have in common. I'm going to show you a couple of other things. The groups.
Lauren V, can we pause for just one moment? Yeah. And I could ask you a question and also make a comment. So first, to the students that are participating today, for the purposes of the course that you're in right now, the assignment that you're going to be using Dragon Network for specifically is that you're going to first just set up a profile. So in a moment, if Lauren or Lauren could maybe walk us through the key elements of an effective profile for a student setting up a profile, that would be really helpful. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, for the students in our audience, there is an assignment about informational interviewing. You can use Dragon Network to set up an informational interview, but you could also use any number of other resources, including LinkedIn or Handshake or your personal network of family and friends or other associates. So there's many ways you can do that. I would encourage you, if possible, to look into Dragon Network as a great channel for conducting those informational interviews. And as both Lauren and Lauren have pointed out, the alumni at Drexel are very eager to help you and give you advice and hear from you. And there's a really excellent way to connect with them, as Lauren V already pointed out, through that scheduling option when you get to the alum profile. My question for you, Lauren V, is if a student uses that schedule an interview feature and clicks on the calendar, will the alumni be able to see that? And if they want to reschedule, could they connect with the student and say, that doesn't work for me, but this does, and have a back and forth? Yep,
absolutely. So I just switched my profile view to what it looks like as an alum, but we see the message here that I sent with Lauren K. So say I've scheduled the meeting, Lauren K might write back and say, November 10th at 2:00 doesn't work for me. Can we make it November 10th at 3? I can go ahead and view that meeting request and actually update the meeting details here. So we'll go in and say, okay, Lauren K wants to meet at 3 o'clock now. So I'm going to go ahead and take that time out. Oop. 3 o'clock p.m. Add time, save meeting details, and then she's going to get a notification that I have scheduled a new time for us to meet. So yes, there's flexibility here. And that would be another key thing. If you set up a meeting and you find that you can't make the time anymore because something has come up in your schedule, you can go in here and let Lauren or your contact know, sorry, something came up. I'm going to be rescheduling this meeting for 3 o'clock. Let me know if that doesn't work. So this will be an easy way to sort of keep track, I think, of what is on your calendar. You can actually sync it up with your Outlook calendar or your Gmail calendar as well. That was another thing I forgot to mention, but we can go into this preferences tab and update how many people, this is for the alum standpoint, but how many people they're willing to connect with each month. And then can also sync it with the calendar. So this might be useful for you all too, as you're balancing classes or work or other commitments, to say, oh, these are the times where I can actually, be available to schedule that meeting. So it'll help you manage things a little bit differently. So you don't have to remember, okay, I scheduled that meeting with Lauren. I need to go put that on my Outlook calendar. Once you set this up, I don't have my calendar synced, but once you do that, it'll, be a little bit more seamless in terms of that scheduling piece of things.
Great. And as a student, if the alum responds through this, through the Dragon Network, will I get something in my email or do I have to go into this to check the notifications?
Nope, you'll get an email about it. You'll get an email. There are different levels of sort of notification you can set up. Email is sort of the default. People can get text messages about it if they really want to make sure that they're being responsive. So when you go through and set up your profile as a student, you'll have the opportunity to set how you want to be contacted as well. If you want to make sure that you're getting the messages, you might want to get, a text message about it, so it's not sitting in your inbox. But I'll show a little bit more of the profile customization when we go through that step too.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. And then the last thing that I'll note is in thinking about the informational interviews that you all are going to be doing for your assignment, there are a number of resources located in your Blackboard course. One I would encourage you to watch is how to conduct an effective informational interview. So that is a pre-recorded webinar we've already done that you can watch to see some key tips. In particular, what is important to note is that when you're reaching out to these alum or anybody else within your network, you are not asking for a job, you are asking for advice and insight. And so I think that's a really important distinction to make right off the bat. Alum within our network are going to be so eager to help you. Eventually, if you build an effective relationship, it may lead to work and it may lead to a job, but initially they will probably not be in a position to just hand you a job. So rather than asking for work, what you're doing is asking for insight into the company that they're working at, asking for resources to continue to learn and grow, asking about projects that they may be working on. And so just a different varying levels of specific topics that are going to help you get to know that person and hopefully build a lasting relationship that will help increase your professional reach as you start looking for employment or other opportunities. So that was the last thing that I wanted to mention, and I'll turn it back over to you and you can maybe help walk us through a few more things, including how to set up a really good profile.
Yes. So a couple of things to note about the profile. Again, when you first log in with your Drexel credentials, it's going to pull in just some information really about just your major, your academic program. So you'll be able to go ahead and populate a lot more of that. And I encourage you to do that because when you, let's say you set up a time to meet with an alum, they're going to want to know a little bit about your background as well so that they can be a good resource to you. So you can do that by importing your LinkedIn profile. When you get to the profile builder piece, once you log in with your Drexel credentials, it will appear on the sidebar of your profile right here to say import my LinkedIn profile. So it'll pull in your headline, your summary, your headshot, your educational history, and your work history. So this is a great way to sort of take advantage of the things that you've already populated on LinkedIn and pull it into your profile so that you're not, sort of creating it from scratch. So I would say, a good approach is either if you're going to log into Dragon Network, maybe update your LinkedIn profile first if you haven't done that in a while, so that you can pull in all of your current contact information or your current background information, not your contact information, your background information. And, if you're not going to be importing LinkedIn, maybe because you don't have a profile set up, or you want to kind of create your own profile that's a little bit more custom for Dragon Network, I just encourage you to fill out as much of it as you can so that when you do send a request to an alum and they accept a meeting with you, they can learn a little bit more about what your professional goals might be, maybe places that you've worked or co-op previously. You never know. Almost all of our alumni have gone through at least one co-op experience. So you might find somebody that has co-opted the same places that you have, or that might have co-opted places that you're interested in applying. So I would really encourage you to spend some time on this about section, telling alums or potential contacts about you, about your background, about your interests, about things that you or areas that you're hoping to explore in terms of what your future career path might be. That will really help them get a sense of who you are. And then when you do have your time to meet, I think that it helps people be a little bit more responsive to sort of understand the things that you're interested in, the experiences that you have already had, and the things or goals that you have in mind for the future. So I think this about step is pretty important. I try and keep mine updated on my LinkedIn profile to say, like, here are my past experiences, or here are ways that I'm involved, both as a professional in the work I do every day and the ways that I'm involved in my professional community or my larger community. So I think you can think of this section as the place where you can sort of present who you are as a whole person, so your student experience, your professional experience and goals, and maybe just other things that you want people to know about you. If you volunteer, or if you play a sport, or if you're a leader in a student organization, this is really the spot where you can tell your story a little bit more, so that people will have an understanding of who you are when you set out to have those meetings. I think filling in as much as you can about your professional experience is key. Again, so people can have an understanding of what your career path has been so far, maybe the types of organizations that you have worked in, whether it's corporate, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's a particular industry. Filling this in as much as you can, just to be comprehensive. Again, that educational background, you might just at this point have your Drexel experience there, but maybe you've done other sort of certifications or things, in your field that would be of interest for people to know. And then I will show you also sort of this step that's here to help with. This is where you can really define what those topics of interest are. So you see, I've picked quite a few of them that I feel that I'm knowledgeable in. The question will ask you, instead of here to help, it's going to ask you, what advice are you seeking? So the way that we're looking at the profile now is my profile as an alum, but for students, it's going to ask you, what do you need advice with? And you'll be able to check off those things that you're hoping to engage with in the community. So again, you see it's pretty broad here in terms of the areas of expertise that you can access. Again, industries, you can update this at any time. Your interests might change. You might be interested in academia this year as a student, and next year you take a course that really piques your interest in marketing or something else. I mean, you can come back into your profile at any time and make those updates. But I think, again, taking time to sort of fill out this interest profile to say, here are the things that I'm really looking for insight and expertise in. It's going to help you focus your conversations a little bit more. It's going to help you sort of identify people that have that interest or expertise or commonality. So taking the time to, really think about those things and figure out, what do I want to get out of the community or my interactions with people, will really help sort of in identifying those contacts for you. Again, this additional information section, I think, can be really valuable. It might seem like, well, why do people want to know my hobbies or passions, in a professional community? But again, it's that finding common ground with people that can be great icebreakers. If you connect with somebody else who's interested in traveling or reading, finding out those things that you have in common can be, just a really nice point of connection for people to kind of start that conversation. And then this is, you won't see this field here, but this is just for alumni. So we can ask them how else they're interested in helping so that we can connect them with students in a little bit of a different way as well. So I would say, just taking the time to sort of build out your profile, spending, I think, most of your time kind of on this top section to really give people a sense of who you are and what your goals are in terms of engaging with the community, or, sort of where you are in thinking about your future goals, whether it's around co-op or, if you're later on in your Drexel career where you see yourself after graduating. It will just help people get sort of a better sense of who you are. Okay, anything to add to that? Because Lauren K is our LinkedIn pro in alumni relations, so she may have other tips.
No, I think that was perfect. And sometimes it's nice to kind of open conversations with some, non-career focused things like, oh, is there any, great hobbies you've, adopted? It doesn't always have to be strictly, hi, nice to meet you, and diving right in. I think sometimes it's nice to just ease into a conversation with, oh, I saw you have interest in this as well. So obviously this is a career, connectivity opportunity, but, feel free to set the stage with a little bit of a softer intro as well. So yeah, no, I think you did a great job. It's perfect.
I have one more question about the profile setup. So if I'm a student that does not yet have professional experience, is there anywhere on the profile to add volunteer projects or academic projects that I've been a part of that are a different way for somebody to know me?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think the fields that you see here, this is not able to be changed. So it's always going to be labeled as professional experience. This could be a way, like if you've had a sustained volunteer role someplace, like let's say you have been volunteering at MANA for 2 years. I think you could put this here maybe in a volunteer role as the title. But I think that the about section might be a place to more fully explain sort of those volunteer interests or some academic projects. But there's not a section per se that's volunteer experience. And then same thing, with education, you're able to put basically just your major, your graduation year and your institution. Again, I think that's probably because, if you're pulling in LinkedIn, it takes sort of the fields that are already in LinkedIn to do that. But I think, again, building out this section in the about to really give some more context, unless it's sort of like what I would say is like a sustained, let's say, volunteer role here, you could possibly put that in there with just the notation that this was a volunteer position.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Just want to show you a couple other things here with preferences. I showed this briefly, but just to kind of go over a little bit more. If you go into preferences, this is where you can set up all your notifications. So you're set here to get emails for new meeting requests, reminders, new messages. Email is sort of the default. But again, you can set up to receive text messaging. If you would like, we do send out a newsletter each month. So you can opt into that to get tips on using the platform or learn about when we post new resources. And then same thing with the different discussion boards. You can opt in to receive email or other notification when new things are posted. So you'd come in here and be able to update those preferences at any time. Privacy, if for some reason you want to sort of hide your profile for a while, maybe you get really busy with school or other things and you're not using it to actively make connections, you could always hide your profile. That's less sort of applicable to the student role because students can only contact alumni. Alumni can't reach out to you as students unless you're the one who sort of makes the first contact. So you're seeing alumni, but alums can't reach out to other students and kind of initiate the conversation. So this, I think, is probably sort of less applicable to students in your role. Again, availability, you can set, how you want to be contacted within different groups, sync up your calendar. And then this is that matching quiz where if you want to update, based on new interests that you might have or locations that you're interested in, you can go ahead and edit your responses to that at any time. So that'll just be up here in the tab in the preferences section. Any questions about any of the profile setup or the networking piece of things? We have a couple other things to show off. No. All right. A couple of other things I just wanted to point out. And again, I'm logged in as an alum, but you'll see the same thing when you come in. You'll be able to see a groups feature where this mentoring or network section is where you can make the one-to-one connections with people. Groups would be the place where if you wanted to engage in discussion with many other people in the community or ask a question more broadly, you can do that through groups. And we have about 18 different groups set up right now for different professional specialties, affinities like athletics, and regions of the country. So let's say that you're interested in moving, to the West Coast after you graduate or for co-op or what have you. You could actually go into the West Coast Dragons group and connect with other alumni who live in that area. Or let's say you're interested in entrepreneurship, you can go into this professional community and engage with others who have a similar interest. So our alums and some of our team members are using this to post information about upcoming events, to share news from colleges and schools. But I think as we build this section out over time, this could also be a place where maybe you come in as a student and ask questions about particular career fields or networking within specific industries, or just connecting with other alums on the basis of, a shared interest or sports or other affiliation or something like that. So the group space is accessible to students, and you can go in and ask kind of questions broadly to the community. But again, this is meant to be sort of focused around a particular industry or particular region or particular interest. We also do have kind of a general discussion board where you can post your own questions or see kind of the discussion topics that other alums have shared. So there are some discussions going on. Now we have upcoming events. We have people who've been sharing things about, where's the one? Advice that a mentor or colleague has given. So this is the place where you can kind of go in and more broadly kind of access the expertise and insight of the community or post your own questions. So if you have a general question about job search or networking or life after graduation, this would be the place where you can go ahead and post that and get answers from people within the community. So again, the sort of broader discussion board here, and then drilling down based on what your specific interest might be within that groups feature. One other thing I wanted to share too is this resources section. This is accessible to students as well. We have some sort of user 101 tips, so how you can find your own mentors, kind of another overview of some of the key features of the platform. One of the things though that I think is really valuable that you may want to check out, Lauren K spent a whole lot of time in the last couple weeks populating this section with some of our career services webinars that she runs every month. So we have alumni who are speakers for these programs, and they will offer a session on various professional development topics. It can be about management, it can be about healthy living, communication, so this is a place where you can really see, and Erin has done one for us. I knew hers was on here. But you can really access some more of the expertise of our alumni community. We do these webinars every month. So going forward, we'll be posting them in Dragon Network. So this is just another sort of resource that you can access. Usually the programs are, 45 minutes to an hour long, to just give you some really sort of, good tips and advice for career and professional development or insight into particular topics. So this is another sort of piece of the community that's accessible to both students and alumni. So those are really just, the key features of the platform. I encourage you to, if we have some time left here, which I believe we do, to ask any additional questions in the chat. And then when you're able to, go ahead and create your own profile. I'll put the link again in the chat if I can here. And you can get all set up. Questions?
And I will just add briefly, We just launched this, so we are getting, additional alumni, signing up every single day. So we hope that you're using this for this assignment, of course, but we hope that you come back and continue to use Dragon Network for, your entire tenure as a student, but also, of course, when you become an alum someday. So this is a long-term investment, this platform, and I think the more that you put into it, as Lauren B has kind of shown all the different facets, and as most things in life, the more you put into it, I think the more you'll get out of it. We're very, very excited to offer this to the Drexel community. And tell your friends to sign up.
I have a question about outreach. So if I outreach to an alum in here and I don't hear back from them, is there any way to follow up, or do you all provide support for getting a hold of alum?
Yeah, so we do a couple of different things. If you send a message and you don't get a response within 3 days, the alum is going to get a reminder that it's in their inbox. So they'll get an email that reminds them to go in and reply. We send another email out after a week to reply that. And then after 2 weeks, the messages actually expire. So that's one thing to keep in mind too, is that you might want to make multiple outreach or contacts, to sort of improve the likelihood of alumni responding in a timely manner. But I will say one of the things that we've noticed, and with this platform that makes it a little bit different from the group that we have on LinkedIn, is that when we are talking to alumni about Dragon Network, we are saying to them, when you sign on for the community, you're agreeing to be a resource. So it's more of that active kind of engagement and support versus LinkedIn, which depending on how people use it can be a little bit more passive. They might set up a LinkedIn profile and never check that inbox. But to Erin's point earlier, alumni really want to help. So when they get a message from a student, we're seeing that usually we're getting the responses within like 2 days, and maybe that 3-day reminder is necessary. But typically we're seeing, pretty good response rate. If we start to see, like I've done this a couple of times where early on in the process, back in August when we first launched, we had alums that were sort of helping us test it out, and maybe they haven't been super responsive. I've done some outreach to people that just to remind them, like, you signed up in August, to help us test it, but like be an active member of the community kind of thing. So they're getting some built-in reminders. You as students also will get reminders. So let's say an alum reaches out to you to schedule that meeting and you haven't responded, you'll get a reminder, hey, go in and confirm that meeting, and that sort of thing. So yeah, there are some built-in touch points there. We can monitor a lot, LK and I and our colleagues, to see, maybe there are people that are just not responding that we want to reach out to. But I would just encourage, to sort of make multiple contacts. I don't know what for the assignment for the class, I'm not sure if there's, Erin, if you're saying like X amount of informational interviews, but I would say if, it's 2, maybe you want to reach out to 4 or 5 people. And, that would help you sort of cast that wider net and get those responses.
So myself as a student, should I also be following up within this platform? Is there a way to send a second message, or am I just relying on this program to send the follow-up?
Yeah, so you can certainly do that. So let's say, and again, I don't know if sort of the best practices for the class, but if it were me, let's say, and I didn't get a response within maybe that first week, like just knowing now that like 3 days in, you're going to get an automatic reminder. But let's say I really wanted to connect with Lauren K, I could always go back into my inbox and just say, hey, I sent you a message, a week ago. Just let me know, like, do you have time? If you don't have time to connect, just let me know, kind of thing. The message that alums get says, it says, if you don't have time to engage in a conversation with a student, just reach out and let them know, like, be courteous. But yeah, I would say, and again, Erin, you might have other best practices for sort of what that timing could be. But if it were me, I'd be reaching out within a week and just saying, just to follow up, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the purposes of the course, students have 4 weeks to complete their informational interview from the time that it was assigned to the due date. So 4 weeks should give you all, the students, enough time to complete and follow up if necessary. I agree with the 1 week follow-up strategy. So within, about 5 to 7 business days, if you have not heard back from that person, you can follow up again and say, greetings, Mr. or Mrs. Smith. I'm really eager to connect with you. I understand that you're probably quite busy right now and would appreciate you following up just to let me know if we can connect. And there are examples within the Blackboard assignment of specific language to use in your follow-up. So if any of the students in this class need additional support with that, you can certainly look at those resources, or you can also reach out to your co-op advisor to have them review any messaging that you're going to send out before you send it out if you feel like you need a little bit more support with drafting those messages. All right. Well, for the students that are in the audience, do you all have any questions before we sign off today? Okay. I think we did such a good job. There are no questions.
And I'll just put my email address in the chat, and if Lauren K wants to, maybe she can add hers, because if you do have questions along the way, like from a technical standpoint, like you're having trouble with your profile, or you want to have a refresher on a particular feature like syncing up your calendar, you can reach out to us and we're happy to help troubleshoot.
Mm-hmm.
When you use the community, we may be reaching out to you later to see a little bit about like what your experience was and try and collect some feedback. But I would love if anybody makes a connection with an alum that's just really amazing and you get really great insight, share that with us, because we want to be able to know, one, that it was helpful to you. We want to be able to thank that alum for their support of our students, and be able to just tell others like this can be a resource for you as you're navigating along your professional career, whether that's at Drexel or what you're thinking about outside. So I would encourage you to give us your feedback. We love to hear the success stories, but we also like to hear if there are things that are challenging. As Lauren K said, this is a very new community for us. We just launched in August. So the feedback from students and alums is really going to be critical for us in making sure that we can build on this moving forward.
Great, great. And for the students that aren't here today and don't have access to the chat, what would be the best way for them to find your email address if they wanted to reach out?
Yeah, so our alumni website, drexel.edu/alumni, has a contact page. And since with the recording, I'll just spell mine out real quick, which is LMR24@drexel.edu. And Lauren K's is LMK324@drexel.edu. I didn't realize how almost similar they are until I just said it out loud. LMR24 and LMK324@Drexel.
Great.
And
excellent.
Real quickly, I just noticed we didn't mention, but I think it's still an opportunity for students to use the share button to, if they're having a great experience and want to share it on their social media pages. I think that could be, a lot of us are on social. So if you have a great experience and want to share that on your social media platforms, by all means, please help us spread the word. The more people that we can get, to post this, the greater, of an audience we'll have on this platform. So just thank you in advance if you can help us spread the word.
That's a really cool feature. I didn't realize you had that. That's great. Okay. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. I learned a lot today. Definitely a lot more than I originally knew. So this is great information for me, and certainly for all the students in the audience. Feel free to follow up with Lauren or your co-op advisor. And I look forward to seeing all of your new profiles and hearing about all of your experiences on this platform. So thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Erin. Bye.
You're welcome.